Hey guys, welcome to Ready Set Live, episode 15. Today we're talking about Rise of the Floodborn spoilers, the mountain of craziness that we have gotten. We are looking forward to talking about all that and more in this episode of Ready Set Live.
Ready, set, draw!
Go. Well guys, welcome back.
It's been a little bit.
Dude, the hiatus was real. I mean,
New space.
holy cow. New space.
Oh.
Welcome in. Oh, yeah.
That was mostly an Anthony work thing.
The emotional turmoil on your life right now, man, is just so real.
And there's still work to be done. But
Hey, man.
Hey, we're here.
We are here. Well, we have 18 cards to discuss.
And 3 people to do it.
Yeah. We are missing Alex. Technically, I'm where Alex was. You're where I was. And there's an empty chair where you were.
Yeah.
But
I don't
we
miss
miss
it.
you. We miss you, Alex. But I do have some of Alex's opinions. For those of you who Alex is your favorite member, you don't have to declare favorite members, but I know it's probably the case for some of you at home.
It's okay, I get it.
You don't have to declare it. But for those of you who care, you're like, man, I really wish I knew what Alex said about those cards. We have it for a handful of them, some of his favorites of the list. But just for clarification, we are starting with actions, working our way to a couple of items, and then moving on to characters. So I think it's fitting that you kick it off, Tyler.
Okay.
Given that you have, and we have our phones here to reference the cards, but you can kick it off because this is your favorite color, and you got an action that I think that you've probably been waiting for.
Oh, yeah. Removal and amber.
Yeah, we can save the opinions for afterwards, but I would love to give you the opportunity
I already know your
to give it
opinion,
to the
sir, and I'm
people.
not happy about it. Okay, so first card up is Last Stand. It will be up on the screen. Last Stand is a 2-drop uninkable. Action, banish chosen character who has challenged this turn. Who was challenged this turn, not who has. So who was challenged this turn?
That flavor text. I don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. I get.
It's got to be Ray and the Last Dragon. It's got to be.
So it is. Okay. Let's finish this. Binturi. And that is from Namari.
I have not seen this movie.
Me
I'm
either.
sorry. I'll take my lashes here.
So
I haven't
no,
seen
you're
it,
good. So this. Okay. So first off, card wise, it's okay. Like it's not like overtly amazing. Like great. Amber's got removal. It's not great removal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like it in the sense that it works with like Moana and being able to ready all the like it would work in the princess deck
For sure.
So that's kind of an interesting deal. As far as the flavor text, so there's a big fight at the like relatively close to the very end of the movie. And that's kind of what the whole Last Stand thing is okay. That like they're battling because the last dragon, and comment down below please as to what that dragon's name is, because for the life of me I can't remember.
Doesn't Awkwafina do the voice for it?
Yes, she does.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. That's the extent of my knowledge of that movie.
Yeah.
My wife watched it on a plane. Awkwafina is the voice of the dragon. Yeah, that's it.
That's that. You know what? Funny enough, that's probably about 90% of the rest of this as well. So you're in the majority. Okay. Don't worry about it.
Well, I would say my initial thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours too, Anthony. My initial thoughts were the first time I read it, oh no, Amber's got removal. Oh no. And then I saw it was uninkable and it calmed my nerves because there's not a lot of room for uninkable in Amber. So it made me feel a little bit better. But coming from
the rest of it,
the Amber side of the table, I've dabbled in the Amber lifestyle, but it really is relegated to purely the aggressive style, which this would not fit in. I don't care at all about what you're doing in the Amber decks that I play. That's kind of the same for you, but would this fit in your deck, or what are your thoughts on this card?
That's so tough. I don't think it would fit, but I think the more control-y and mid-range a meta gets, I think it would be useful because I mean, like in those decks with those little tiny creatures, I can't do anything about your big guys. So if I swing one of them at that big thing that you're locking me down with, and I play this, okay, now that thing's gone, I can continue doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have words for you, sir. I have an edited gameplay that says 100% otherwise. Oh yeah, let's swing everything. I don't interact with your board. You're full of crap.
You gotta do what you gotta do to get what you need done. You know?
Sure, whatever.
As far as the usability of this card, I would put it 2.5 stars out of 5. Just because I know that most Amber decks are going to be utilizing Lilo. That's an uninkable card.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to a lot of them utilize Lantern, an uninkable card. Ideally, to get value out of this, you're using low cost stuff. You're getting a cheap or low strength challenge that absorbs the hit, and then you get a free banish with that action. And it's ideally, like you said, it is a benefit you get that technically you really didn't want to use, but it's there when you need it. Yeah. Are there any other uninkable cards that are typically played just within Amber? Because I know that other decks, other colors have their uninkable counts too.
0 to hero.
Okay, you'll be playing that. Okay, I got you. Well, were there any? I'm scratching
Is one
my
jump
head.
ahead inkable?
One jump ahead is not inkable, but that's a sapphire card though.
Oh, not one jump ahead. I mean, like
not that one.
Just in time. I guess
just in time is not inkable. Another good point.
Yeah.
If you are going all in with the just in time strategy, I don't think you fit this card in at all.
Yeah,
no. I think with this card, the key is, what is the benefit of hard removal? It's that no matter when you see it, it's going to do its job. Even if you top deck that removal. Dragonfire being uninkable sometimes is a big pain, but the fact that you know it will do its job no matter what, unless they have ward,
and it's targeted.
Is the thing. It is targeted. You choose.
It's targeted removal.
Yeah.
Man.
So the thing is,
can we not just get one mass removal? Just one. Yeah. I know it's not technically an Amber thing.
That's not an Amber thing.
Come on.
I just think that with Dragonfire, it's 5 ink, but it does its job no matter what, regardless of circumstance, regardless of damage. I do like how this says challenge, so it really doesn't care about how much damage a character has. Like, you don't even have to do damage, because this is actually a big help against stuff like resist.
Yeah.
Even if you are a 1/1 challenging into something with resist 1, you didn't do any damage, but it was challenged.
It's true.
This actually plays really well into the Amber Emerald strategy now. That with some of the
with super speed, I don't know. I feel like you don't have time to weave this in. You're trying to push.
Yeah.
With that strategy, you can lean it. If you had like a villain strategy, and that got souped up somehow, and then you actually play more mid rangey. You're doing more character synergy stuff. If you're building something for fun, I think like in a multiplayer game, that this becomes more interesting. I think it's in those fast-paced, high competitive games that Last Stand kind of has to take a back seat, just because as an uninkable, you cannot sacrifice card quality among your uninkable count. Like, you can't just shove another uninkable card in your deck to make it work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
For sure. So you have to have your uninkable cards be the top of whatever those two colors can offer. This card's interesting. It doesn't really make sense in an Amber Steel. Amber Steel's got better. Doesn't make sense in Amber Ruby, if that's going to become a thing.
Yeah.
Because Ruby's got better. Really, it has to lean into those colors that don't have such good removal. Maybe Amber Emerald, if they get a weird, like, mid-rangey style deck.
Yeah.
Maybe Amber Sapphire, maybe, because it doesn't really have much removal. It has Let It Go, though. And it has
That's
Hades.
Really
that's good. It's better than Last Stand, though. I mean, how many spots are you dedicating to removal in a color synergy that relies on character synergy? I mean, it's tough to fit in, but they got something. It's kind of like Stampede, where it's like, I don't love it. I don't want to play it, but it's something. And I think in Limited, like in Draft, this is the card you're like, I have an Amber deck. I got Last Stand. I have an answer for their bomb. I can do something about it. So any last thoughts before we move on?
Side note, when are we making a Commander version of this game?
It's already 4-player. Oh, you're saying having
like,
a general.
Having like
there's something we can discuss later about that. I promise you.
Okay.
Nick Gagalis has a question for us. I saved it. I wanted to get your fresh takes on it, so I didn't bring it up earlier in the discussion.
Doing some things.
Yeah, we'll bring up in the mailbag section. Thank you. So
Stay tuned.
Any final thoughts?
I think we're good. You good?
You're good? Okay.
Right.
Well, Anthony,
Ain't you going with
you have your favorite color also getting an action.
Hey-o.
Let's go. So we have I'm Stuck, which is of course an action. One cost. Inkable. It says chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn. And the flavor text is, oh bother, not again.
Oh, bother.
I love it.
Not
I love it.
again.
I actually really like this card.
I like it too.
I really like this card.
I have a question for you. How much more ink would you be willing to pay if it also had the words draw a card afterwards? I'm just for the game design purpose of things. I know this is all tangential and hypothetical, but I want to know.
If it said
draw a card at the end, so if it becomes a replacing card, a cantrip for those of you who are not familiar with much TCG knowledge across games, like, or if you've played games like that, like if it replaces itself, how much more would you pay for that effect?
You would have to throw it. It had to go way up. Like, it has to go way up.
This
ability, yes.
Yes.
This effect is, if this effect is worth 1 ink, draw a card it's kind of hard to decide what draw a card's worth on its own, honestly. I know that we have
put it on
friends
a song.
We have friends on the other side. It's 3 cost, but it's a song.
Right.
And it draws you 2.
Right.
That tells me that a song could technically be 1.5 ink and it draw 1 card. Right. So if it's not a song, maybe 1 ink is fair. Maybe 1 ink is fair for draw a card. But
drawing a single card,
if you made this 2 ink and it did this and it drew a card,
that'd be solid.
Yeah. I think it has to be like 3 or 4 for that to work.
And
for it to have both.
Would you play it
No,
at that point?
not at 3 or 4.
I'm just curious, guys. Just indulge me.
I don't know, because there's stuff in that range. I don't know. That's a pretty good effect, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think at 1 with just what it is, I think it's a great effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you add draw 1 and it's a cantrip, I think going anything higher than 2 it's no longer worth playing.
I promise you this question that I'm asking you will become relevant again in a later card.
I was about to say, I was like,
because it's a point.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm planting a seed for an argument in the future. Okay. But this card on its own, let's dodge it. Whatever. You said 3 or 4 ink is what you think would be fair. You'd play it at 3? I would play it at 3.
I might think about it.
I'd consider it. It just depends on
at
the
4,
deck
I don't
too.
play it. But yeah,
It depends on the deck too.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Stuck on its own. The merits of I'm Stuck.
Solid card.
I
Very solid card.
I love it.
The fact that it's inkable
And
completely
the fact
saves
that
it.
it's common. It's a common.
To have it be actually playable and accessible, the common thing
It's
really
a
matters.
really, really good card for common.
But the character has to be exerted. Emerald has ways of exerting character, or amber or amethyst. Sorry, wow, my inks are crossed. Amethyst has ways of exerting characters, so it's not like the color identity relies on the presence of another color. It's not deck specific; it's color specific. But I feel like this card is sneaky.
Very, because I feel like it's definitely going to be in the control.
Yeah.
deck, 100%. Because it's not one of those cards that's only useful at the beginning. It's going to be still very usable at the end game and especially in that control deck, you always have some leftover mana. It just depends on what's going on. And if I can slow you down just a little bit to allow me to do what I need to do, I love it.
Yeah,
But I will say, depending on the deck you're playing against, the key word in there it is just at the beginning of the turn. They can still ready it up any other way.
Thank you.
So
my Ruby strategist side was about to bring up that exact point.
Yes.
This is not a coverall. Elsa does not say you can't ready at all. So this card is only 1 ink investment. Sometimes with your Elsa, you have like, oh, I'm gonna get them.
Yeah.
And then on the next turn, they just play a Fan the Flames or something like that,
or
a LeFou.
Yeah.
And your 6 ink investment that you shifted with is pretty much. And now that strategy does not. It's not a complete solution though, because they can't quest with that character. But I think for 1 ink and inkable, I think this is extremely playable. It's deck specific. Sure. I wouldn't just throw this in your Amber Amethyst deck. I wouldn't throw it in a challenger like. I mean, actually, maybe I would with an Amethyst Steel because it can leave them open.
I was about to say either that or even Ruby Amethyst. Like
Ruby Amethyst is for sure.
This is 100% a 4 of in Ruby Amethyst.
That could be very, very good just to slow the game down.
This is a gross card.
Now,
Ruby
Amethyst Sapphire in that ramp deck that I like, this is not doing it.
Yeah, no.
Because it's a whole card just to slow them down when I really just want to play on my own game plan.
Yeah.
But a card doesn't have to be applicable in so many decks
It's also
to be
inkable,
usable.
which
Yeah.
isn't horrible for the whole.
There are many inkable cards that I don't play just because they're inkable, you know? I would say, before we move on with this card, would y'all rate this as a terrible, meh, good, or great card?
I'm going good.
I was about to say I'm going good. As far as star ranking, I'm throwing 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Like it's not just play, like it's playable in a lot of different decks, and it's very, very solid.
I'm good, but I could lean meh.
Being a common,
depending on it. I don't really think the common matters on the playability of it, though. I mean, that isn't.
It's the fact that, like, I feel like this game has done a really good job of making certain strategies and different things very accessible on all the different levels. It's not just all of the great playability cards, like all the like really strong cards are all going to be your super rare, your legendaries, maybe a few rares. Like that's it. Like that's all you're going to be able to play with. No, like this game is like, hey, you want to be able to play basically on a budget? You can play an entire deck with commons and uncommons, and you will still have a very solid.
I saw a tweet.
Deck.
I think it was from Knives Nerd Corner on Twitter recently. I was just scrolling, but it caught my eye. It was the price of some of the starter decks and their accessibility online is like pretty rough.
Yeah.
But he was like, if you just purchase the singles for all the starter deck cards, I think one of them was like $7.30. Another one's like $7.50. You can build the starter deck for less than $10.
Really?
Still, just because the individual cards aren't that much, it's the fact that you get the pack in it. It's the fact that you get the little damage counters, the sealed product as a whole. Like,
right.
I mean, yeah, you should still get a starter deck if you can get it for the right price. I think because that pack does have value to it. But if you're just wanting to play the game and you want to play the starter deck experience, that was an interesting take. So props to Knife. Before I would just say good, lean, meh, depending on how relevant that Amber Ruby or Amethyst Ruby strategy really ends up being in the next set. Because I think that is the deck where it shines whenever you can find that deck that's capable of like locking something down. And this adds another layer of, you don't have to play another Elsa to get the effect of like, and again.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Right.
We also have some action synergies coming up in some of the cards we're going to discuss today, which this is cheap actions make action synergies relevant. The next card, though, is an Emerald card. It is Bounce. 2 cost, uninkable Emerald action. And it says, return chosen character of yours to your hand to return another chosen character to their player's hand. So the wording's a little wonky, but essentially this means no matter what, you have to return one of your characters to your hand. And the benefit for doing so is that you can return any other character that you can choose, so ward aside, any other character to its owner's hand. Well, this leaves the door open to double return your own. That would have to be very niche to me to be worth it. Like, I invest a card and 2 ink just to return 2 of my own to my hand. Like, that's very niche.
So Merlin?
I mean, you're not wrong.
So Merlin?
You're not wrong, but that is like just to get Merlin to quest for what, 3? You know what I mean?
And it's a question of
you lost characters on board. You probably could have quested.
I have to relook at Merlin because
it's whenever you return a character to your hand from play.
Oh, is it to your hand?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to know whether or not it was to
your hand, not to a hand. Yeah.
Because if it was to the hand, well, well,
yeah, that would be rewarding bouncing other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But this card to me, it hot take here.
It borders on meh.
I think this card's terrible. I know that value exists between like you can bounce your own character to play it to get its trigger of coming into play again. But ink does not get super, super high, especially in games that incorporate the emerald color. Ink, you're not getting to massive ink counts. And if you are, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion, with the current decks that are building with emerald. But this card, like, yes, you had to spend the 2 ink to get your character back to hand, and then you can bounce someone's stuff. But you could just play Mother Knows Best, sing instead of pay 3 ink, and just get theirs back to their hand, or sing and bring yours back to your hand if you really care about that. In a vacuum, you can't always guarantee that your opponent's going to have a character you want to bounce on turn 2.
Yeah,
that's true. You can't guarantee that. Mother Knows Best would be a dead card in hand in that situation too, but at least, Mother Knows Best doesn't require that you return one to your hand. If maybe you get one of yours removed and now they have something you want to bounce, it doesn't require that you have one of your own to bounce theirs. Like I keep on saying bounce, but it's the title of the card. But it's just, hopefully I didn't kill your enthusiasm for the card.
Not really. I mean, it's because I didn't have a tremendous amount of enthusiasm in the first place. I think the only thing that makes me enthusiastic about this card is, number one, the art, because I really like the art.
Tigger's a welcome dude.
And then and then the flavor text.
Oh, what's the flavor? I can't believe I missed the flavor text.
Are you ready for some bouncing?
That's funny.
Anthony, can you see yourself even playing this card, man?
No.
All right.
Because he doesn't play Emerald.
All right, next card. Anyways, no, it's a.
I don't see it being like you. I think that right now, as the game currently is, it's borderline.
Mad.
Yeah, it's mad, leaning towards terrible.
Yeah,
but there could come things that say, hey, the more I bounce my stuff, the more something else, or if I bounce this card, I can get something out of my,
Merlin,
you never know.
Merlin is a payoff, but I don't know if it's enough of a payoff to warrant that.
And I see where you're going. I feel like I kind of understand where your mindset is like there could be a card that says the more cards that you bounce to your hand, the lower the cost becomes of this particular card to play.
Right.
So it's
something like that, or
something strange, but is super niche.
This becomes a ink cheat.
Yeah.
Essentially, in a way.
And so it would really have to lean heavily into some sort of statement like that.
The only obvious,
I don't expect that to be a thing, but it's an interesting.
The only obvious synergy I see with this card is if you are playing a bunch of low cost stuff, and for some reason, I don't know how, but they make characters that are low ink cost and have very, very relevant and powerful enter into play effects.
I'm looking for a 0 drop, man.
And even then though, it's like you are having to spend a card for this. You have to spend the ink, you have to spend the card. So it makes it like, my favorite way to play this game is tempo. This is, if I would have made that Lorcana lesson about tempo after this card was revealed, I know exactly the card I would put for what is the opposite of tempo. It's this. This is the poster child for it. It's sad, but it is what it is. Yeah. Tigger can't get all S tier cards. Tigger is the 6-8-4-4 evasive.
I was about to say,
it's not an S tier card. I'm just making a joke, but
it's because he's the only one.
He's great though. He's great. All right, Tyler, I think you should get the next one.
Should I get the next one?
You should get the next one because it's a strategy that you've told me that you like. So that's why I'm assigning it to you.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I see it. Okay.
This is where it comes into play, by the way, the whole argument I was seeding.
Yeah, no, I see.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the next card that we're talking about is Hypnotize. It is a 3-drop inkable action that says each opponent chooses and discards a card. Draw a card.
Okay.
We've
added the
pretty
text.
Solid.
I really like this card.
I think for 3, it's good. Mm-hmm. It's not cantrippy because cantrips really kind of fall under the 1-2 drop. Like that's like a good action that is a 1 or a 2 drop. That's a cantrip.
Okay.
This falls under
a cantrip. It just replaces itself, so it is a cantrip, but it's just not. It doesn't play easily into that strategy.
Yeah, it doesn't. It does not play easily into the strategy. But I think it's good, and I kind of like I do like the flavor text. I like the art too. I'm big on some of this art that's in this set, man. Like
Matthew Robert Davies has a lot of art. Who does this?
This one is Lauren Levering.
Okay, new artist. I haven't heard that name before.
And
congrats.
I'm gonna go ahead and apologize because I'm fairly certain it might be Levering because it's Levering. So
Lauren, if you watch this show, let us know in the comments.
Just hit us up.
And if you know Lauren personally, let us know what she prefers.
Nick, call us. Okay, And then the flavor text, look me in the eye when I'm speaking to you.
That's from the actual
Look
movie.
me in the eye when I'm speaking to you.
Here's the deal. How much ink are you willing to play or pay for the first effect? Each opponent discards a card from their hand.
2.
I mean, there is a card that
literally
exactly
says that. It's literally sudden chill.
Yeah.
That's a song, though.
Yeah.
True.
So it is costed with the ability to be played for free, essentially. Yeah. So I always look at songs like that and think, okay, it technically should cost a little less than this, but they made it a song, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Usually it's like it should cost half an ink less, but they can't make it half an ink, right? There's not much wiggle room there. For this, I think if you're paying 2 for sudden chill straight up, I think you're a little bit unsatisfied, but as long as it was perfectly timed, you're fine with it.
Yeah.
But if you have sudden chill that you have to pay 2 for and it's not properly timed, where it's like I'm doing it because I need to do it, you're like,
Yeah.
But we just discussed how much is draw a card worth to you. And y'all both said 2 ink is worth it, right?
Yeah.
2 ink is worth it for draw a card when it's stapled onto something else.
This is actually a very interesting card because it doesn't follow that same mentality. It follows more of the, hey, sudden chill is 2, but it's a song. This, you're getting the sudden chill ability, but we added 1, took away the song, and you can also draw a card.
Yeah.
That seems a little bit more fair.
Yeah.
Almost.
I'm saying the math of it is you were willing to add 2 ink cost to draw a card. So how much does the rest of the effect cost?
Apparently now it's just 1.
That's on rate. Then.
That's pretty solid.
I think it's pretty solid.
I think the next card actually gives it a bit of a more run for its money.
Yeah. Well, I think at 3 ink, this does not weave into a turn very easily unless it's later in the game.
Yeah.
But as we've learned from cards like You Have Forgotten Me, just because a card is making you discard and it costs a little bit more, it might take up your turn, it can be very awkward. And You Have Forgotten Me, you don't get a card back for that.
Yep.
You spend your turn and you're done.
You're also ripping 2 cards from somebody's hand.
That's true. It's also 1 ink more.
Yeah, instead of
I'm just saying that
1.
The ability to refresh your hand means this card, I like this card a lot in decks that are purely meant to be early game disruptive, but still have some juice
like
afterwards.
If they sudden chill you, then they use this, and then you're just, I guess what
kind of turn 3 play are you playing, bud? Dear God, just running for the hill.
You Have Forgotten Me, and there's no way you have cards. There's no way.
Sir, do you want to build my Emerald Amber deck? Like, do you want to play Ember and instead play it this way? Goodness gracious. Look, you're a savage.
So, Anthony, would you rather, if you had the choice, would you rather play Sudden Chill or this? A 2 ink song that does this without drawing a card, or a 3 cost, not a song, a draw card?
In all the Emerald decks that I've created, I've never used Sudden Chill.
I think okay, go ahead.
I like it. It's cool, but I'd play this one over Sudden Chill, honestly.
Because draw a card's addicting.
It's
very addicting.
I need cards.
You could throw a draw a card on just about anything, and I'll look at it at least twice.
Yeah.
You know?
At least.
Yeah, at least. Maybe 3 times. I think...
For all 3 ink?
Yeah. I think I would rather play Sudden Chill personally, just because the song is more addicting than drawing a card to me. However, I think in a deck where you're like maybe leaning into that discard disruption, I don't see how this isn't like just as legit to you as Sudden Chill. As an inkable card, it has the flexibility where you can use it later if you need to. It can be a resource for you if you want. This is something that, because it replaces itself, you can guarantee you can keep the pressure on. You're not going down in cards. In a multiplayer game, you have changed the card advantage scene. Everyone else has dropped a card. You've gained a card. Mm-hmm. It's not like Sudden Chill. You're losing a card, and now you're saying, every one of you are coming with me. Mm-hmm. This is straight up advantage. This is kind of like You Have Forgotten Me in that regard, because You Have Forgotten Me, you all go down 2, and I go down 1. The problem with You Have Forgotten Me is by turn 4, you can't always guarantee a fast deck still has 2 cards to discard. By turn 3, I can almost always guarantee you have a card, and I can't always guarantee that it's going to be an easy choice for you. So this is...
Yeah, because it could hurt that next turn because question of the inkables
card.
Inkables. Yeah.
I know.
Is Sudden Chill inkable?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
This is something that I think I've played against your discard strategy.
Yeah, my Ember deck.
And I remember I lost to you because I had to be so cognizant of if I go down to 2 cards, he can end me. I've got to keep 3 cards in hand. And you didn't even have it in your hand.
No, I didn't.
But I had to play around it.
Mm-hmm.
This just adds one more card to the pot and makes it interesting. I mean,
Always got to keep them thinking.
you didn't keep me thinking. Your cards kept me thinking, man. All right, anyway, we got to move on. There's another card kind of like this, Anthony. I'd love it if you would tell us this little beautiful card, because I actually really, really like what this card introduces for the game.
This card is really good. Boom, you got it.
All right, so the next card, Improvise, which is an emerald card, 1 cost, inkable, and the effect is chosen character gets 1 willpower,
strength.
No, 1
strength this turn. Draw a card. Oh, another draw card.
Yeah,
and it's 1 cost.
Except it's better.
And it's 1 cost.
So I don't know.
And it's 1 cost.
This is.
I think we might have just broken Anthony.
The thing is, Megara adds 2, and
Yeah.
she gets to quest. She gets to actually progress you towards the win condition of the game.
Yep.
I've always thought, like, if something gives you +1, it better be free. Like, I could imagine the first 0 cost card would be give a character +1 strength or give a character -1 strength. I hate control your temper. I hate that card. It should be free.
Yeah.
But they tacked on a little +1 and a draw card for 1 ink, and now they got me thinking. And as we've seen, the action cards, we're going to discuss action synergies coming up. This is very relevant because you can chain multiple small actions together in a turn, get a little synergy going. Is it worth it to put a card in your deck to fill a spot just to get +1 strength? Is that worth it?
Just the 1+ strength? No.
I mean,
No.
it draws you a card, yes, but I'm saying it's going to cost you 1 ink, but most importantly, it costs you a slot in your deck. This card essentially becomes 1 ink, replace itself. Is that +1 strength relevant enough to deserve a spot?
It depends.
Beautifully nuanced answer.
And I say that because now I'm starting to think of other cards.
Okay, what are you thinking of?
I'm specifically thinking of Dr. Faciliate's cards.
When you play, actions become
cheaper. So then
it's a lantern for actions, yeah. Okay.
But now you have a 0-drop cantrip that gives a +1 to a character and also draws you a card. So it becomes an automatic replacement and you don't have to pay anything for it.
Synergy dependent, but I see you. I know what you're talking about.
I think there are ways of making this card better to make it cheaper and then making it cost effective.
It is relevant that it becomes free if it's reduced by 1. That is true.
Yeah. So it is going to be specific on the synergy that you're trying to build.
I would say this card is meh, but
it has the potential to be okay.
If you have cards, like one we'll discuss later, that really care about how many actions you're playing, I think this becomes considerable.
Yes.
It goes from meh to meh. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that. All right.
I agree.
All right, Anthony, you have any last words for Improvise before we move on?
No, let's just go. I hate it. It's all right.
Okay.
It's all right.
All right, well, that ends out the actions. And then we get to move on to a item here. And I'm going to go ahead and take this item if you don't mind, Tyler. I'll save the last item for you. This item is
because
Sapphire, and it is Fang Crossbow, a 3-cost inkable item, and it has 2 abilities. One is called Careful Aim. Exert and pay 2 ink. Chosen character gets -2 strength this turn. The other ability is Stay Back. Exert, banish this item, banish chosen dragon character. So immediately as the Ruby Sapphire item slinger deck builder resident here, I would say this card does not make the cut. I have been so frustrated by the limited removal options in that deck. Not like the deck doesn't have options for removal. That's not true. I'm saying the removal that has limited options.
Yeah.
As in Sword of Truth and Poison Apple. I completely wrecked Mr. Alex with Poison Apple. Like, I I basically made him say, yeah, this matchup's ridiculous. Because his princess deck could not hang with a singular poison apple and one Tamatoa. It ended the game, essentially. It was over. That being said, that is the only time that I've ever felt like, yes, about either of those items. So
it's kind of sad how that works.
Yeah, how niche you can remove something, like that little window of opportunity there, that matters a lot.
It's a question of how many dragons there are going to be.
There better be a lot.
Which also comes back to the point of we just got a possible character deal in here of like, hey, there are going to be more dragon cards.
Well, if we're only getting the last dragon, it ain't going to be enough. Because,
sir, do you know how many dragons are in that last dragon?
How many cards are they going to devote in the Rise of the Floodborn to Rhea and the last dragon? That's what I would say.
I mean, she's literally the cover card.
I guess.
Like,
Either way, we got a lot of villains in the game.
Yeah, we do.
Sword of Truth is not very playable.
That's
we got
true.
a lot of princesses in the game. Poison Apple is not very playable.
I would like to point out that Yu-Gi-Oh might have something to say about that with the amount of dragons.
This is not ready, set, die. Okay, Yu-Gi-Oh is basically that. Okay,
but I'm just saying, like in general,
live, boy.
No, I'm just saying, like once. Okay, there's a reason why in other games dragons are so prevalent in the games that they are played in. Like if you look at Magic, elder dragons, like dragons in general, they're big,
they're
splashy. They're freaking cool. Like that's the whole point.
But how many dragons are there in Disney other than Raya and the Last Dragon and Maleficent?
And the one from
Mulan, Mushu.
Yeah,
Mushu. He definitely needs to get a card in this set.
Yeah, for sure. But
Fang
just
Crossbow taking out Mushu, that's sad.
That is very sad. But I'm just saying, like in general, like there are other dragons even still that we haven't seen yet.
Maybe if Stitch gets really big, you call him a dragon.
Right.
Is Stitch riding a dragon?
As of now, I feel like we need to come down to earth a little bit. As of now, this card reads
garbage.
Exert, banish this item, banish Maleficent Monstrous Dragon.
Yeah. Right now, you are exactly right.
Even if you added 3 more dragons, 5 more dragons. Let's do 6, 1 for each ink. 6 more dragons in this game. You can only play 2 at one time.
Depends on how good those dragons are.
It depends. If they are like I need to answer this card becomes
really
the silver bullet.
But it's dependent on that.
But I'll say for now, let's just look at the first ability. Exert, pay 2, chosen character gets -2 ink this turn. That's control your temper for 2 extra ink on top of the 3.
That's not good.
Yeah. There's an Italian word for it. It's garbaggio. That's not actually Italian. It's just I don't like it. I don't like it. So I don't like it so much that I'm going to ask y'all what y'all have to say about it. I'm going to stop talking about it, and then we're going to go on to the next card when y'all are done.
That sounds great.
I'm ready to go now.
Go for it. I want you to say yours because mine's going to be short too.
No, he's ready to move on.
Yeah.
Oh, you're ready to go now?
Yeah.
Oh, my short thing is, it's garbage.
Okay. All right. Tyler, get us with the last item.
Hey, I at least get the good one. So the next item, the last item that we're going to talk about is mouse armor. And because, Mickey obviously needs that armor. So it is a 2-drop uninkable. It is an item. It has protection. You tap it, exert it. Chosen character gets resist +1 until the start of your next turn. That's solid.
You can get seemingly infinite use out of this.
Yeah.
If I love the start of your next turn application,
because it opens it up to possibilities. It opens it up to the ability to let it be there.
You can use it technically as a defensive tool and an offensive tool.
Yeah.
You can use it to say, okay, I want my character to be able to challenge into your character and not take as much trade damage.
Yeah.
And you can just quest with a character, get value out of them, and then say, if you want to get rid of this, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. Exert. And you can play multiple of this card.
I was about to say, it stacks.
You can set up that defensive use and then crack back even harder. You can use it defensively, quest with something, use it defensively. everything readies up at the beginning of your turn. Now you can go ahead and give it resist and take out what you wanted to take out. I think of cards like this because resist stacks. This can make some things that inherently have resist juiced.
Yeah.
And that is scary. That is very scary.
It's going to get real rough for a lot of decks.
How many of this card, as a 2-ink uninkable, how many of this card do you play in a deck?
It comes back to how many Tabard do you play? Like, this would be really good in Bodyguards.
When you play Tabard, you play 4 Tabard.
Yeah.
Because you're leaning into the strategy and you want to see it.
Yeah. So
this is more of a all-around utility thing.
I'd say 2 at start, definitely 4 at most.
Yeah. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking around 2-ish. It just depends on the deck, though.
Do you think I think with the card like this, do you play this more in a deck that wants to defend your own stuff and make your own stuff harder to take out? Or do you use this in an aggressive deck more? Like which deck likes it more?
I think the Bodyguard deck, the Musketeer deck, loves this card. Because it gives
competing for uninkables.
It gives your bodyguards that much more durability. It makes them so much harder to get rid of.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting.
And when they do finally get rid of them, you have Tabard there to be able to draw off of it. And all of the Musketeers, because they typically work together in some way, shape, or form, you're using your Musketeers for the right reasons, and you're making them resist on your own turn, swinging into things, getting rid of stuff, and then making them swing into your stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. When you have your Musketeer deck, is there uninkable?
The uninkable count is not that high.
You have Musketeer Tabard. You have a Whole New World occasionally, right?
Typically at 2.
And then you also have Grab Your Swords you got to consider. You also have... do you play any Fire the Cannons in there?
No.
Okay. You don't play any hooks then. All right. So it's pretty much Grab Your Swords, Musketeer Tabards, Whole New World. Does this replace a Whole New World, essentially?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anthony, I don't even know do you play many steel decks?
None. So I'm lost here.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you guys
what the heck is Grab Your Swords?
What steel are there any steel aggressive decks?
Oh yeah. It's the steel amber right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty aggressive. But that I don't think
aggressive?
Oh, it's very aggressive. I don't think that deck plays this card because it actively wants to take a little bit of early damage so that Rapunzel can heal it and get draw off of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that deck wants to fit this in also because it's playing lanterns and it's also playing Lilos. It's pretty heavy. You wouldn't really want to invest your turn 2 on mouse armor. But I think the decks that love this, as we've seen and we'll lean into later, the resist colors seem to be steel and sapphire. And I love the idea of just creating a wall of value and just having favorable trades.
We can start calling the Sapphire Steel deck the Trump deck because you're just building a wall.
No, it's Sapphire. Sapphire or Spiel. But I think it's an interesting mix. I think it's definitely more value oriented.
This card is okay on the border of being like good.
Yeah, I think it's baseline pretty okay. I'd give it 3.5 stars out of 10. Out of 5. Sorry, out of 10. 3.5 stars.
Out of 10?
3.5.
This card is garbage.
3.5 out of 5. What about you, Tyler?
I think 3.5 out of 5 is probably a solid place for it to be. I think it's good.
I'm gonna go with whatever you guys went with.
Sure,
because it's the steel.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break to say thanks to one of our sponsors, but we will be back with the characters of the spoilers. See you in a sec.
This episode is also sponsored by Meeple City Games. Looking for a local game store in your 4 states area of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma? Meeple City Games is the place for you. Stocking TCGs such as Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, One Piece, and Lorcana, Meeple City Games is your one-stop shop for all your TCG needs. Check out the link in the description below to check out their location. Meeple City Games. Come join the fun.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to go ahead and get into the characters of the spoilers we're discussing today, and we're going to start off with something that was spoiled almost immediately after we recorded the previous episode in which we ended the show talking about the Shift Cinderella, which blew our minds. It deserved a spot on the thumbnail of the video.
Sure did.
This is the answer to what is it going to shift onto, because the Shift Cinderella was steel, but the only Cinderella we knew of was Amber. It was still a shift target because it was still one under, but it wasn't something you actively wanted to shift onto. You also didn't want to have to play Amber Steel to get the shift to work. Well, boy, do we have something to shift onto at a nice price. We have Cinderella Knight in Training. Is a 2-cost inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower, Dreamborn hero princess knight. Ooh, a lot of keywords.
Kind of wondering if the knight thing is going to be a thing.
It has the ability Have Courage. When you play this character, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. It also has 1 lore. And the flavor text, she's always had the heart of a champion. Now she'll have the skills too.
Nice.
They're making Cinderella the main character, it looks like, of this set. I mean, Rhea aside, Cinderella has earned a spot as like the marquee, look at what I can do.
She's a hero.
Yeah, she's a hero. I love what they're doing with her. I think for little girls all over the place, they're going to look at this character and be like, oh yeah. Cinderella's getting in the mix
Mom,
now.
I want to be a knight for Halloween.
Yeah, I can dig that. If you had little girls trying to dress up as Cinderella Knight in Training, that'd be pretty sweet. But she's a common. I don't think that she on her own in a vacuum is like world shattering.
Yeah, no.
It's literally Simba, but 1 more cost and 1 more strength. However, I don't like to play Simba that much because I don't have a shift Simba to go into.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily value the ability to draw and discard a ton. I think if you're constantly churning through cards, it's pretty nice. If you have a card you're really, really looking for, it's pretty nice. It's okay with Stitch. It's pretty valuable. What are you thinking of? I can see your face. You're just like, it's like a poster going, ask me a question.
Are we going to get a shift Simba?
I mean, maybe.
Because now I want
Cinderella
one.
here. Cinderella's a knight in training, man. You trying to change the conversation to Simba?
Because we had the
Shame on
conversation. Like, you bring it up, and I'm like, wait a minute. We don't have a shift Simba. I want to shift Simba. We got a shift Scar.
The Cinderella.
He was garbage.
The Cinderella that we can shift onto.
Yes.
Is
it's really good.
I mean, yeah. I'm looking for it right now just to be sure. I'm pretty sure Cinderella. Yeah, there it is. Shift 5.
Yeah.
It's going to be a sec before you can shift onto it.
Yeah.
However, typically you would like a shift target to be ready and able to act. 2 ink is not that much to invest on turn 4. You can still spice in some other stuff. It's not like you have a hard time mixing it in. How do I know this? Aladdin shifts 5, and I can still make shift 3 Ruby Aladdin work on some turns and weave in a lower cost item or something. You just made it easier. So I'm on board for this little shift target here. I think it's a beautiful card selection piece. It has relevant strength. The thing I don't like about Simba is it feels like, yeah, you can quest for 1, but it's almost always going to be taken care of for free.
Yeah.
It's 1 strength is not much to do anything with. She doesn't have baked in resist, but 2 strength is meaningful.
Yeah.
You can take some stuff out with that. So I don't mean to chief y'all's opinions, but y'all have anything to add?
And what you got?
Not much. I mean, it's a solid card. It's
All
gonna
right.
do what it needs to do.
I think it's a good looking card. I think once again goes.
What's the artist?
I feel like we just
Grace Tran.
we talk a lot about like how good a card is. I kind of want to take a second to just appreciate the art from this set.
It's
It
great.
all looks really good.
It's really good. Haven't seen a Nicholas Cole art. Just saying.
I'm looking forward to it though.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking
little
for those
Clifter noon.
Clifter evening.
Yeah. So Anthony, you got the next one, and it is one that I love. I actively love. Tyler, I know you're going to love it too.
Apparently his phone doesn't like it.
Okay, so the next card is
of course
the
I like
Prince Never Gives Up. It's a 3-cost inkable steel card. Dreamborn Hero Prince 1/3. It has bodyguard and resist 1, and it's 2 lore on it.
Yum.
This is already really good.
Yeah.
Especially on a bodyguard. There's not a single bodyguard that's a 3-drop that has 2 lore on it. Like there's just not.
That's great.
It's really, really good.
It fits the curve of you don't have a 1-drop bodyguard. You really don't need one, right? 2-cost Simba, 3-cost Prince, 4-cost Donald, 5 cost Goofy, 6 cost Mickey. That's pretty legit.
I mean,
that's pretty good.
It's called Curve.
It fills it in. Now, you can skip turn 4 with Donald. You can throw in a Musketeer Tabard if you want to. But the Prince with Resist 1, I like to think of it. Every card I see with Resist, you can pretty much just add that total to its willpower. And
It's a 1/4.
it's a 1/4, essentially, that quests for 2. And it has the potential, if you were going to challenge into it twice or do something to it twice, it's technically a 1/5, right? That's mighty good.
yeah.
I really
it's a
love
really good
this
card.
in any deck that can also mitigate strength, or not mitigate, but enhance strength in some regard. I think it's really good. I know that the Musketeer cards are Musketeer synergy specific,
Why
but
couldn't this be a Musketeer?
because it's the Prince. But I just
Yeah,
think,
but a Prince could be a Musketeer.
regardless,
Looking for D'Artagnan.
it's really good. Anthony, would this card, since you haven't played Steel decks, would this card tease you into trying it out?
I really like this card. Like, it's it's pretty good. 'Cause, I mean, I guess, I don't even know if you would actually do it like this, but I guess turn 2, if you had the opportunity to, you could just drop down that mouse's armor
Yeah.
and, even make it a little bit more tough to deal with.
Oh, that's gross. I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
I
Thank
like
you,
that
sir.
card.
It stacks. It resists stacks.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to make sure before I evaluated these cards.
Yeah.
Resist stacks, and it's relevant.
It's really good.
And the 2 lore on it.
Yeah, two lore is
really
enough.
solid.
But you have to consider what the stats do if you don't have resist. Like, what is that resist really getting you? That resist that resist on its own is technically costing you 2 strength, essentially. Because we've seen that bodyguard doesn't really add a lot of value to a card as far as like what it makes you pay for it. But
This is so
Other
much
stuff
better than
does.
Hercules.
Hercules is 3 costs
Yeah.
too. But he's
This
a
card-
3/3 with 1 quest for 1.
Quest
He's a
for
bodyguard.
1. This is
He
so...
has 2 more strength. That's the thing.
That-
I'm telling
that-
you. It's
that's
the
the
cost of resist
thing.
1 is it costs you 2 strength.
Yeah.
And the amount of the ability for a bodyguard to push back with damage is relevant.
But you get more lore. Like,
You're not wrong.
That's why...
I think-
and resist 1, like,
I think
that's...
this is the answer for aggressive decks that just want a bodyguard to be a shield and to take hits while Lilo and
Yeah.
heck, I don't know, name any 2 cost 2 lore, but Flynn's not so much. You can't do 3 colors, but still, in an Emerald Steel setup, if you had Flynn behind this guy, Flynn wants to be challenged, but you can kind of make his effect
Aladdin.
like just tax him.
Steel Aladdin.
Steel Aladdin.
Aladdin's a 2-drop.
He's a 2/1, so he's easy to get into, but not if this guy's in front. That's relevant. He pushes for the win condition and is difficult to push through.
Yep.
So I respect that. I don't think it's going to be like an every case use thing. If you're looking to like really challenge into them
I
and
think
get
it's
value for
solid.
it, yeah, a card doesn't have to be good in everywhere to be good somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
true.
I agree.
All right, Tyler, what's your card?
My card is it's Robin Hood, capable fighter. He is a 2-drop, uninkable, 1 strength, 3 willpower. He is a Dreamborn hero. So we went from 4 different,
Dude,
4 different categories on a card.
this guy's going to be a promo in set 2, by the way.
And he's good.
He's cool.
Solid.
Art's good.
Because, for
art,
sure.
I love
I want to
art.
get it. I want to get it.
His ability, though, is really solid as well. Skirmish, deal 1 damage to chosen character, and it is a 1 lore. And that flavor text, though, capable. You don't know the half of it. Little John.
Sweet. I think let's start this. Tyler, you got to read the card. Give your thoughts.
I think it's Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest.
No, I'm saying the card's quality, like playability.
Yeah, he's stealing, man. That's what he's doing. That's exactly. He's just thieving.
Okay.
He's just. This is okay. So I would honestly say that this is just a better. This is a better ray gun.
Plasma blaster.
Yeah, the plasma blaster. I think that this is just a better plasma blaster. The fact that this is plasma blaster on a body, like that's really it. Like, but I do. I like that and I don't like that because Plasma Blaster, because it's an item, it makes it harder to get rid of. But Plasma Blaster costs to be able to activate, the ability. So
that's what I was looking up. I forgot how much exactly it was.
I think it's
off the top of
2.
my head. Is it 2?
I think it's 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the fact that this is a 2, yeah, you have to wait a turn, but it's a really good ability on a body. Like, and there's a card that we're going to be talking about later that wants you to be able to do that. And I think that there's going to be a great color combination that is going to be in that's going to like this a lot.
So, Anthony, I'd like to get your thoughts before I go on. I've talked early on a lot of these cards.
So
what are your thoughts?
When you activate these abilities, when you exert to activate the ability, you don't get the lore, right?
No. Correct.
Okay. I think it's cool, but I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't know. I can think of circumstances where, you know, it'd be helpful, but at the same time, you could also attack into it with the 1 lore. If it did 2 damage, I'd be like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But
it would need to be a 3-drop. It would still be uninkable.
If it did 2, it'd be awkward because it would do more damage by exerting than it does challenging. You know, I think as an uninkable 2 cost, you got to look at the stats and see what am I getting for this, because what would an uninkable 2 cost card get me if it had no ability? An uninkable 2 cost with no ability should be like a 3/3, right? It would have to be really good.
Yeah.
Lore aside, only 1 lore, that's pretty rough. Now you're not going to be exerting it for questing that much, I guess. So is it worth it to deal 1 damage? I didn't know the card you're talking about when this card was spoiled, right? The card that you're thinking of that this synergizes with it, we'll discuss in a little while. It was not revealed yet when I first saw this card. So I think this card is something that with synergy, it's enough, but just doing 1 damage on the hopes that you're just going to like finish something off by exerting with it, I think it's too niche, because with only 1, if it was a 2/3, it would be insanely good to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's at a 1/3, it seems like it can be pretty easily taken. If you think about it, its 1 damage can kind of force a 3/2 character to get banished in a challenge with it.
Why do I feel like there's going to be a shift Robin?
I mean, probably,
because we have a Robin Hood from the original set, and now we've got this 2-drop, and I just feel like it's leaving something to be desired.
Yeah, I just think that anytime you have a steel card that's uninkable now, I immediately say, well, what do you got? Because whole new world, Musketeer Tabard, now mouse armor, fire the cannons, grab your swords. You got a lot of competition.
A lot of deal damage stuff.
And you got a lot of competition. I would rather, personally, just... I mean, you're not really going to be questing with this guy anyway, so it's not even like you can say, oh, but he can quest.
Yeah, he can.
You're going to be exerting with him to use his ability anyway, so he's not adding much over like just strict damage that you're adding with like smash. So not a huge fan. All right, well, I will take the next one. We are out of steel characters. We're going to move on to emerald characters, and there are quite a few. But
you take my boy.
We are going to get an emerald character that we've technically seen already in chapter 1.
He's a little bit beefier on the back end, though.
A little bit beefier on the back end. This might be Eugene, but the one we're discussing is called Flynn Rider. And Flynn Rider is, jokingly called a vanilla, but he is a 1-cost, inkable, 1 strength, 3 lore, storyborn hero prince. Or I said 3 lore. 1 cost, 1 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore. The flavor text: I love a good fan club, but they could at least try to get the nose right. Because he's talking about the little wanted posters behind him.
He's a very confident vagabond.
Yeah. So this is essentially the Minnie Mouse of Emerald.
Yeah.
I have grown to love the stat line more than the
1
2/2.
through. Yeah. Well, the 1/3 is really solid.
I think in a lot of Emerald decks, you're looking for tempo plays. And tempo plays are wanting to get lore. They're wanting to be sticky. And this sticks around really for a lot of the stuff that would be challenging into it. So you're usually going to get 2 lore out of this guy, unless they can find some really weird, awkward, perfect removal situation. I like this a lot. For those low-cost decks, I'm very pleased in the ability to have a 1/3. Having to play Duke frustrated me. It frustrated me. In those decks, my Ruby Emerald tempo deck, I play Duke and I play Minnie Mouse. Anytime I have both in my hand on turn 1,
Duke's going down.
Duke tastes the dirt. So it's always Minnie Mouse if I can get it. So I would say that Flynn is definitely welcome. Y'all have any any spicy takes on how this synergizes with anything that I can't think of?
I think it's just a solid 1-3. Like I think most 1-3s are really solid, and it's funny when you say that, like, typically he's going to get 2 lore. I just realized, no matter what, even if you were trading into a 2/2, that 2/2 is still going to die or going to get banished at the same time as that 1/3.
Yeah.
Like, they're both going to get banished at the same time.
Exactly.
There is no, like, right way of being able to get rid of that.
And a lot of the strength that you see in the lower cost range usually has 2 strength.
And this now plays really well with another 1-drop that we already talked about.
Improvise?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Because it's a 1/3, and if you wanted to get rid of a 2/2...
In the same colors, it's more approachable. I agree. Yeah, I think we should devote a little more time to the cards with more text, personally. So I'm totally down to move on to Anthony's card.
Let's move on.
All right, so the next card is Panic Underworld Imp, which is an emerald card, 3 cost, uninkable, 2/3. Has the ability, Storyborn ally. Has the ability, I can handle it. When you play this character, chosen character gets +2 will strength.
Yeah, the sun is strength.
The sun is strength. +2 strength this turn. If the chosen character is named Pain, he gets +4 strength instead. And it has 2 lore on it.
He's bringing the pain.
Who says it's hard to find good help these days? Oh, yeah, me.
Who says it's hard to find good help these days? Dude. Oh, yeah, me!
Oh, man. I think I'm not the first one to say this, but this completely depends on Pain.
Yeah.
Completely.
And it's really kind of, and it's the same thing with Flotsam and Jetsam. Like, it really, like, you're looking for the synergy there. +4 strength to anything is absurd.
Yeah.
Like, it's Zeus level dumb, like, ability to be able to just, like, oh, okay, I'm going to put +4 here.
Yeah.
So then we want Pain to be 2 cost then.
We want Pain to be playable.
Yeah, you want Pain to be 2 cost. You're right. Because you want it to be able to challenge or do something with that strength the way you... Yeah, for sure. I didn't even think about that. I think if Pain was like your Panic gets +1 lore or something, it doesn't even have to have that big of a effect, but maybe if you could, like, create some parity of, like, give you a decision on, do I want to get rid of Pain the turn that he's played or the turn that Panic's played? Do I want to get some more value out of him that makes Panic better? That would be an interesting design decision. We'll figure it out, because I'm sure we don't have an influence on it.
Right.
But I was going to ask you, Anthony, Cheshire Cat is the other 3 cost emerald 2 lore, but it's a 0/3 and guarantees that it takes out whatever challenges into it and banishes it. What do you like better? Let's assume that Pain is a good card. Let's assume that Pain is a good card.
That's a big assumption.
Emerald already has a lot of uninkable cards.
Right.
So if Pain's a good card, is that enough to make you think, like, okay, I'll do it an uninkable?
Because a lot of especially the early cards, for depending on the deck, they mainly disrupt in some way. Like they want to make you make the opponent make the decision. This isn't really making me make a decision. You know, if you see that it's on the board, I'm like,
if they play Pain on turn 2, hypothetically, if it's 2 costs, you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
That thing's gonna swing for 6 next turn.
I mean, I could see somebody playing it, but I don't know. I don't think most people are gonna play it.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think this card's better than Jasper.
Jasper.
Oh, yeah.
I don't can't quest Jasper.
I don't think that this card is better than Jasper.
He's a 3 cost.
Jasper's a 3
He's inkable too.
I honestly, I think if this card would have been inkable, we'd be having a different discussion right now.
I think if it's inkable and it quests for 2, I'm talking about it. Yeah, for sure.
I think for 3, obviously 3 and 2 lore, that's really solid, inkable or not.
Yeah,
but I don't think we're going to be able to say it enough. This card completely depends on whether or not Pain is good.
We will reassess this card when Pain is spoiled.
Yeah, we're going to come back to it.
And we will come back to it. But for now, I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I thought they looked pretty flattering.
You get a very cool card to discuss here, or to lead us into.
We're talking about Beast. Beast. I freaking love this card.
I freaked out. I'm just going to be honest. I freaked out when I first saw this card.
It looks freaking great.
Just proceed. My expectations have changed. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, fair. Okay. So Beast is Beast Relentless, and the name fits the character very well. It is a 6-drop inkable. It is 4 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore, so solid. But its ability though. So first off, it's a Storyborn Hero Prince. Awesome that it's a prince. Cool stuff. It's got Second Wind. When an opposing character is damaged, you may ready this character.
So isn't that really dope in some cases?
It is.
It's a legendary. You did not mention that. It is relevant because that is the second Emerald legendary we've gotten. Belle was the first. So that means if this set is similar, why are you eating the mic?
I'm just trying to. I'm thinking right now. I'm like,
okay. So Belle, also an uninkable card, just for the panic situation. That's scary.
Yeah.
Cusco, Belle, Genie, you got a lot.
Bring the pain, man.
That's okay. Anyways, Beast is inkable, which saves it.
Yeah.
I hate saying that so much, but it's true. I'm glad it's inkable because it at least brings the discussion where it doesn't have to compete with other cards to have merit.
Right.
Still looking for that.
When I first read this card, I made a tweet about it. I haven't tweeted about a card in a while because I want to save our discussion and thoughts for podcast stuff. But my tweet was like, yes, please. If it readies, it synergizes with questing, with challenging, and when my bodyguards take damage, heck yeah. But it's not when my bodyguards take damage. It's when their bodyguards take damage, technically, which doesn't really even matter as a synergy. This card leans so well into that Emerald Steel mix. Just because Emerald Steel has that recurring damage. This is the Robin Hood payoff, in a sense.
I just realized something.
You can't quest between damage of grab your swords or anything. It's not like whenever you grab your swords, you can like quest ready up, quest ready
no.
up. But
you can use this to sing grab your swords.
Oh yeah.
And then that damage automatically readies it.
Yes. He's
That's
a free
so
singer.
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also
so good.
quest with it then use Robin Hood's 1 damage on something
and ready it up.
Quest again. It's pretty nice.
So yeah, your thought, if they have something that has 6 willpower and low strength, you technically can challenge into it with him.
Yeah.
It deals its damage to him, which readies him back up again.
Yeah.
Then you sing grab your swords, clear it out, and do 2 to everything else, which readies him back up again. Then you can quest now that the board's relatively safe. The problem with the card, and it's the only thing that I've brought my expectations back from heaven into the clouds, is the tempo player in me says, when I'm played, how do I affect the board? Am I a problem that forces their hand, or am I just going, hey, look at me? And then they can go back to their business.
What are you, Daffy Duck? I'm an elk. Shoot me.
So you were the best at stopping me from finishing a point.
You're welcome. Love you, bud. Sorry for those out there.
When you play this card, he does nothing unless they put the fear of God into the opponent. Unless it puts the fear of God into them. It has to purely through intimidation alone.
Have you seen Beast?
The art is sick. And there is a teaser of a Floodborn Beast. It's on a playmat. It looks like it's like a giant cloud storm beast.
The gargoyle.
It looks super sick. However, if it's Floodborn, it's got to be like 6 cost or higher or something. Because all the beasts we know are tough. But he does nothing on turn 6.
No.
Which means
all turn 7.
He's competing with cards in Emerald. He's not competing because he's not uninkable, but it's not like you're just putting as many 6 costs as you can.
Yeah.
And what
right
6
now he's
costs
competing
do we
with
know?
Genie.
Genie does something when you play him, and he quests for 2, which this guy does too.
Yeah.
Right? But Genie's also evasive. John Silver, an inkable 6 cost.
Does something when
you play him. And
Mother Gothel is also a 6-drop, but she doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Which is also why I would beg to say that she doesn't see as much play as the other 2.
Yeah, I figured that out very quickly. Thank you.
So I think with Beast, a heck of a payoff, dude. Like, it's so cool. You can build a deck around
I think
this.
turn 7. Oh,
You could end games
Yeah.
with this card.
Yeah.
Like,
you can end lives with this card.
You have to think of it too as like, if they have a wide board and you drop this, I was just saying like, if he puts intimidation and fear of God in them, then yeah, sure. If they have a wide board,
Emerald Amethyst freaking loves this card.
you have a niche situation where like you've now threatened
exactly.
their entire board as much as he can eat. But also, if you also have a wide board and you were in this stalemate of like, I'm not sure if I really want to move it, and they go for it, then they have to be cognizant of this guy's existence.
Exactly.
I also want to finish before you go. I want to finish that this guy, in that scenario where they have a wide board and they have a lot of targets to attack into, I know your brain gets flowing as like, oh, I can just start swinging and readying up and questing galore, and I'm just going to eat everything and quest for free. If they have that many characters, they're probably going to win the game, right? You got to be clearing them out. So Magic Christmas Land, like, it's not always it's a dream most of the time for a reason. Temper expectations, but I do think it's pretty dope that like you can just play a smash and quest for 4 on a turn you have them out. That's pretty sweet.
Or fire the cannons.
Or fire the cannons. Fire the cannons is tough because it's uninkable. Like it's hard these days for me to fit that in a deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your point that you were?
My point. Okay, so I know that this card just like super 100% fits into Emerald Steel. Like it just does.
Yeah.
And Emerald Amber probably would like this card a little bit more than Mother Gothel overall, just because like the payoff after with having 2 lore is going to be, that's really good.
Yeah. He has to be the first one they challenge.
Yeah.
If they do.
But
yeah,
Emerald Amethyst freaking loves this card. Because
what's the thing you're thinking of? What do you think?
Rabbit's Pocket Watch.
Oh,
you give it Rush.
I like that.
And then you start swinging on things because that card's already going to come out early. Like that's coming down, turn 3. And
he's only got 5 willpower, but I do think it's interesting that like this, if you do have the pocket watch situation, this could be a 7 cost answer to a very wide small board where you could just take out probably 3 things. You take them out, and then Stitch has 5. So he's not taking out Stitch. That's one of the problems. But usually they don't quest with Stitch. Usually they keep it up anyways.
Yeah.
It's tough.
1 and 2 drops, they're gone.
It is interesting to me though, thinking of like the way they answer this is they have to use removal on it because challenging into it has to be a clean takeout, or the moment they damage him, he also damages them and then he readies back up.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool. Legendary though. Is it legendary?
It's a question of how much combo is really going to be.
This feels to me like the way Stitch Carefree Surfer was legendary on a very basic effect, but it's kind of cool. So you're like, iconic character. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's going to have its uses. And I think if the shift form, I honestly think that shift form is going to be a steal.
Like it has the coloration where it could be.
It feels more like a steel card because it has a better chance of shifting onto the steel version of Beast because it's a 4-drop.
Yeah.
And so it has...
Wait, the steel version of Beast?
Yeah. There's a steel version of Beast, the original Beast from... I just blew his mind.
Oh, there are 4 Beasts now with that new Floodborn considered. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Life just got real easy for Jacob just now. I was like, wait a minute.
Okay.
I didn't remember that guy.
I was just thinking of Wolfsbane in this, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's just really good.
All right. Well, any more discussion on the Beast before we go on to another really interesting one?
I think this is good. What do you think?
All right.
Ant, you're good?
I'm good.
Sounds good.
The card that I want to talk about, and you could think, what possibly could follow up Beast? Let me tell you, a squirrel. A squirrel can follow up with Beast because this squirrel leans into the synergy of the entire set. I want to put a side note here that you can only play 2 colors at once unless you're playing limited. So you are relegated to the Floodborns of the 2 colors you chose. But that being said, let's get to it. 2 cost, Inkable, Bucky, Squirrel Squeak Tutor. Storyborn ally, 1 strength, 1 willpower, 1 lore. Ward, that magical word.
I love that
and
word.
the ability Squeak. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Oof.
This is so dumb.
That is so annoying.
Oh my gosh.
Squeak. Because
Bro, there's going to be a 1-drop bell. I promise you there's going to be a 1-drop bell.
There's a 1-drop bell. I quit the game. I'm kidding.
Bro,
I'm kidding. No, dude.
There's going to be a 1-drop bell. This
problem
just
is a Floodborn character does not have to be shifted. A Floodborn character can just be played.
correct.
Right? So you can play multiple characters without playing what they shift onto to be a payoff for Bucky. The problem is Bucky can never quest or he's gone. So you have to have enough value just playing Bucky on his own to just let him sit there and just never let them keep a hand. We don't have many cheap Floodborn characters. We don't have a lot of them. So
Yeah, not really.
So something's coming out after Bucky, and Bucky's just keeping him on lockdown. Is that a viable thing?
I think Emerald Sapphire is now becoming very viable.
I don't know if there's enough Floodborns in this stuff, man. Like, that is just...
Well, we're about to talk about one.
They'd have to make a lot.
But, okay, so...
Because you got to play...
Emerald, we're going to have Belle. So that's going to... That by itself is going to be really solid. But then in Sapphire, we're not going to talk about the last one. But obviously the last one is there, so that's one. Jasmine, Aurora...
You can say his name. It's Cogsworth.
Yeah, Cogsworth. I mean, I'm trying to save him as a non-spoiler moment. But I think, and with this being the Rise of the Floodborn set, there's going to be other Floodborns that we're going to see.
Yeah.
Because we don't even have half of the cards that are in this set out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of cards left to really sink our teeth into. And I just think that this has the ability to really make Emerald Sapphire really, really solid.
Yeah. I think that...
And you can protect him. Like, it's not even just a ward. It's what Cogsworth does too, where, his ability makes this even better. So it makes it harder to get rid of.
Technically, but you're never going to quit. You're never going to leave this guy exerted.
Right.
Like,
and I'm not saying that you are.
Can't.
But... in general, it makes him harder to get rid of with removal. It just,
I would think, just playing devil's advocate here, because you're on the playable side of it. I'm on the unplayable side of it. Leaning. You have to play a critical mass of Floodborn characters to make this guy even remotely playable. Otherwise, he's just a 1/1 that you can't quest with, or you're scared to quest with. And that's just not, you can't afford it. I would say your deck, much like other payoff cards we've seen, your deck has to play around 20 of that thing to be usable. You have to have like 20, like a third of your deck needs to be synergizing with this piece in order to play that piece. So you can count up all the Floodborn characters you can play, but it's not like we're building decks right now that have a bunch of Floodborn characters that you want to play together. You would purely be playing them just to play them.
Right now, the number is 14.
If you're playing 14 Floodborn characters, like individual, like there's 14 individual Floodborns that you're thinking of?
It's 14 copies total. So 4 Aurora, 4 Cogsworth,
4 Belle,
4 Belle, and then 2 Jasmine.
You got Aurora in there as well.
Yeah, but that was the
either way.
beginning.
You're counting like a 2 Jasmine thing. Like, those cards don't necessarily work together. They would just be played as Floodborns to cause your opponent to discard, which you can't even guarantee they're going to have a card. Because if you have a lot of Floodborns...
Now, I will say that Aurora and Cogsworth work well together.
Yeah, but once
really
your opponent has 0 cards, this guy does nothing. Right?
And then you want to definitely start swinging with him.
Yeah. I'm not a Bucky fan. It's annoying. It's very, very annoying. But I'm not a Bucky fan.
I think if you're leaning into my opponent's never going to have a hand type synergy, like, He's great.
Maybe.
Especially because, what is he, a 2-drop? Guess what you can play at 2? Sudden Chill.
And he can sing it. Yeah, then he's gone though.
But that's okay because
okay, I guess.
At 3, you're playing Belle.
I feel like you're playing devil's advocate and you know it.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because I'm typically playing devil's advocate anyway.
Let's reevaluate Bucky when we get more Floodborn.
Yeah,
characters.
this is the same thing
Anthony,
as Panic.
What is the next card you got?
The next card is Mulan Soldier in Training. A ruby, uninkable 4-cost, 4/3. Storyborn hero princess. Has the rush ability and 1 lore.
So this is basically kind of like a hybrid of Rafiki and Zeus, but in Ruby. And we've seen that Rafiki is very good. Zeus is like kind of good.
Can be beat up by Flounder, man.
Decent, but Zeus only has 1 lore.
Right.
Zeus has 2 lore,
right.
which is like its saving grace. Mulan only has 1. So it really is like just like Rafiki, but a little bit threshold hitting.
It's a
4.
better overall Rafiki.
Zeus is a 0/4,
Yeah, it's
right?
0/4.
With Challenger.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this over it because, when you challenge into it, they're going to take the damage too.
Stays at 4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like this more than Zeus for sure. Having 1 lore instead of 2 is not that big of a cost in order for me to guarantee they get hit back. Having only 3 willpower, Zeus has 4. So
That's true.
So this does probably trade with a couple things that would be relevant. But I do think with what I've seen from Maui, as far as like immediately comes down and does something. Yes, Maui's inkable. That is way more relevant than I would have expected it to be. I think this may make the cut in that Ruby Amethyst deck you like, Anthony. Maybe. If you're wanting to, if there is something in the current game that is like really pushing that has 4 willpower, this can be that answer.
Sure.
Where you maybe didn't want to play Zeus because you didn't like how like fatigued it would get just by trying to take out multiple things. I like it. I think this is a prime candidate for a shift target. I think this is definitely super simple, something that's gotten its value, and then once there's a bigger Mulan, fancier Mulan that's revealed who she is, then it's like, okay, now we're cooking.
Yeah, I like that.
So I don't think there's much to say.
Mulan,
about
Empress of
this
China?
Sure.
I'm taking it.
I think
specifically a Floodborn. Like
I just
Mulan,
don't think
Empress
there's a
of
lot
China.
to
I
say
think that's
about
what it
this
should
Mulan beyond. It's better than Rafiki's better than we thought he was. Zeus is This is better than Zeus. So she's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I really want to get to this next card, Tyler, because it's something that we've been referencing this entire episode. So let's share with the people this beautiful card.
Okay. So let's talk about Minnie Mouse. This is the Shift Floodborn version. It is a 4-drop inkable, which is awesome.
Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby. Gang, gang. Minnie Mouse, Wide-Eyed Diver. That's a pretty interesting name. I like it. It's a 2/3, so it only gets 1 more power over what it had previously, but it's got some fun text on it. It is a Shift 2, so awesome. Plays on curve. It's got Evasive. That's really good. Undersea Adventure. When you play a second action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore this turn.
Yeah.
We talk about cantrips.
So I think as it only has 1 lore, so immediately competes with Pongo, right? As a baseline character, if you don't play the Minnie Mouse underneath it, it is Pongo with 1 less lore. However, if you play actions at all, you have to play 2 in a turn. But if you play actions at all, I think you would be willing to throw in a few value actions like Improvise. Maybe you don't care about getting the strength. You literally just want to I'm willing to pay 1 ink to get extra 2 lore.
Yeah.
Because this essentially, if you have another action you're wanting to play in a turn, because she's not going to quest, not always the turn she's played. If she shifts, she does. But I don't think you're going to get her ability to trigger if you shift her.
I think you do Fan the Flames and then or you do the +1. So you do Improvise and then you swing into something, and then you fan oh no, you can't do that.
So here's what I'm thinking with this card.
You can't quest after Fan the Flames.
You fan the flame something else. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking with this card, one of the cards that I've looked at in the past and went, ugh, was Reflection, the song, just to look at the top cards of your deck and rearrange them. And I was like, why would I want to do this, man? Why? Well, that's why. So you can actually get some cheap stuff and actually get a quest. So it turns these cheap actions. It basically makes it like whatever second action you play, it quested for 2. You know, that's pretty good. Now, you have to replace the cards in your hand, which is why I'm also impressed in seeing these actions that draw you a card along with their effect, because it helps you maintain your hand and your ability to keep the advantage with this card.
I think Ruby Amethyst
I would play this card
best.
not in the tempo deck. In the tempo deck, it's a little awkward because I don't want to play Minnie Mouse in every single version of that tempo deck.
Right.
But if I'm playing if they come out with good actions that work in a Ruby synergistic deck, like I'm Stuck, that's an interesting card to synergize with like a Ruby Amethyst, like control-y, mid-rangey deck. Like I like that. This opens up an avenue to have reward for playing things of value. It's kind of like whenever you have a bodyguard with high lore, it rewards you for doing something you already want to do, things that get abilities after questing. This turns all those cards that have easy action cost, your Dr. Facilier's cards style decks, it gives them a new little twist to make them more intriguing where you get payoff. And baseline, even if you're not getting payoff, it's an evasive quester. It's pretty sweet.
It's solid.
I like it. I think it's definitely worthwhile. It's a rare, as we've seen, that has no impact on the price.
Yep.
Rares can be like $25 if they're good.
Freaking dumb.
But
Thanks, Lilo.
But it will be accessible because you can get 2 rares per pack. So I think it's worth noting. But I think we should finish off this episode with a back-to-back. Anthony, I'll let you have both set if you want, just because I think this guy is so cool. And I will add, last episode, I said if we have an Anthem resistor, that would be sweet. And in the comments, I forgot who you are, but you know who you are. Look at the comments of the first episode, or the episode 14. Someone said, "You called it." The moment this was spoiled, and we released that episode after it had been spoiled, so people were expecting it. But anyways, I digress.
Awesome.
Go ahead, take both Cogsworths because they're both good.
We'll start with Little Cog first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the little one, Cogsworth Talking Clock, which is a 2-cost inkable sapphire 2/3 Storyborn ally. Has the ability, wait a minute. Your characters with reckless gain, tap, exert, gain 1 lore. And it has 1 lore on it. Okay, and then we'll follow that up with the big Cogsworth.
Oh, yes.
We're not going to talk about flavor text?
Okay, flavor text for Little Cog.
This is gone far enough. I'm in charge here.
Tyler is definitely the flavor text guy. Okay, so big Cog. Another sapphire card, Cogsworth Grandfather Clock. 5-cost inkable 2/5 Floodborn ally. Has shift 3 and it has ward, which is already, pretty freaking amazing.
Nice.
And then it has the ability unwind. Your other characters gain resist 1 and it's 2 lore on it.
Well, Jake, you were right.
Amen. I love it. Now, I just want to say I laughed whenever you read the title, Cogsworth Talking Clock, because in my head, I understand it's literally just saying he's a talking clock, right? But in my head, I thought of it like, we're talking shop here. And I thought of him being like, we're talking clock.
We're talking clock.
Like, I'm talking clock here. It's serious business. I just couldn't shake that in my head.
That's funny.
Sometimes you hear something and you can't shake it.
Why does this directly counter John Silver?
I love it. I love this card.
This card just straight up says John Silver no longer matters.
This feeds into Sapphire's identity of having tactical, clever solutions to problems. Emerald's all about pushing them on people, and Sapphire's about finding your way around it. This card finds its way around, but you can also use this card. People, when I first saw this spoiled, were giving feedback of like, if they're not giving you Reckless, it's just a 2/3 that quests for 1. Do I really care about that? But I don't think you're taking enough account into the fact that Sapphire sometimes synergizes well with Ruby which has baked in reckless characters that you want to use. You want to use them for their own inherent value. You're playing things like Gaston for his ability to remove stuff. You're playing things like Maui for his ability to remove stuff. And then when they don't have anything to remove, like when I've played y'all and y'all don't exert anything, and I'm like, I'm just sitting here with a Maui watching you play. Yeah. This lets me fix the problem. I can now use him for exactly what it breaks a rule. That's it.
Whenever it helps you break a rule.
Whenever games make rules, they make cards that break rules, and those cards that break rules usually break the game and enough to make it where you can like have an aha moment. Aha. I love this card. I like playing Sapphire and Ruby together. He makes Gaston so much more playable. Yeah. Because you can play Gaston on an empty board, and then the moment you play him on the next turn, they're like, oh man. I didn't really plan on them being able to quest with him, but whatever. But the whole point of him is literally to shift in the next turn. So you can say that.
I was about to say, I was like, you're not doing that.
But shift 3 Cogsworth grandfather clock. This plus Aurora is nuts. I'll say it. It is nuts.
It's not even a hot take.
They're the same. It just is. They're the same kind of card, except he has baked in ward, so he actually protects himself, and he grants the other type of protection. If you can play somehow this plus Aurora on your board, and you play 2 of him,
2 Aurora plus 2 Cogsworth equals you're done.
Yeah, this is something that I cannot wait to build. We saved it for last, an hour and a half into the show. You're welcome, guys. Cogsworth Grandfather Clock is the card that it's going to make me build Ruby Sapphire again.
It's going to make the game. Like
I dismantled Ruby Sapphire other than the item slinger version, which is also getting dismantled. But I dismantled that deck because it just didn't fit enough. Like I couldn't play the ramp strategy and get enough stuff that I liked in it where it couldn't replace itself in cards, and it got challenged down too easily. I just like this will stop it, dude. I like this a lot.
That'll stop it real quick.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, a really big fan of the Cog. I can't say anything else.
Yeah.
It's so good. If there's synergies about this card that we haven't discussed, or any of these cards that we haven't discussed,
leave it in the comments.
Please go down to the comments and let us know what we forgot. Because if you have like forgot this little detail of this card, it works well with this card, tell us. We have not gotten to play as much as we've wanted to play.
Especially recently.
Yes, especially recently in the time between these episodes. So it is not something that like is fresh on our mind, like all the tiny little intricacies, especially how decks have developed or kind of tweaked later in the phase of this first chapter. But we're just kind of evaluating based on what we can think of off the top of our head. Y'all have any thoughts on Grandfather Clock before we move on?
Dude, I think it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, all right.
I think it's just that.
It is a beautiful thing. I love it whenever they give a keyword an anthem effect. I wish they would do it with more of them.
Hot take, it's trash. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right.
Not when it's stackable, bro.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh, multiple Cogsworths.
Yeah.
It's kind of like multiple Auroras, but he has ward, guys, and he quests for 2. God. Coming back with mailbags right after this.
This episode is also sponsored by Texarkana Podcast Studio. Wanting to start your very own podcast or voice web series? Well, Texarkana Podcast Studio is the place for you. Whether it's true crime, sports, murder mystery, or a fun card game you want to talk about with your friends, Texarkana Podcast Studio is here for all of your recording needs. Check out the link in the description below to schedule your first session today. Texarkana Podcast Studio, where your voice is heard.
Welcome back. Thank you again to our sponsors that we weave into this episode. Without it, especially you, Texarkana Podcast Studio, we couldn't do it without you.
We literally could not.
With that said, we have our mailbag section, the section we devote to you, the listener, you, the audience, you, the people who live in our hearts forever. Without you, we would not have this segment, so let's get to it. We have one question from Twitter, one question from YouTube, and we're going to get into it immediately.
Immediately.
The question from Twitter is from Jaunty, the Inkwell, another wonderful YouTube channel. Please check him out. He's a wonderful individual, human being, and we love his question as well. So we're going to throw it up on the screen while we read it. Set 2 seems as much of a mixed bag as Set 1 when it comes to theme. Do you think we'll see more focused themes in the future, such as jungle, underwater, space, or similar? what would that look like?
The final frontier.
So I've kind of had this conversation briefly before. I really like this question because I have a good answer to it, I think. I'm sorry.
Would you like to go last, or would you like to go first?
I'll go last. That being said, yes, I'll go last. Absolutely.
I'll go first because I'm going to have the least to say. Okay. So I don't think that they'll do it for a little bit because we kind of dabbled into this a little bit before the podcast, but they really need to focus on, or they have to focus on getting the cars out first and fleshing out the entirety of the game. I think once, we have like a few of each character like already in the game, then they'll be like, it's time to kind of theme it down a little bit. But they could theme it down to a specific movie almost or whatever, but I think it's going to be a while before they even get to that point.
Can you imagine 204 cards based around Aladdin only?
Be insane.
That would be insane.
Not happening, but yeah. So I guess it wouldn't theme it down to a movie, but it could happen. It's like side character or what is it? Civilian A, Villager B.
Dreamborn. Abu kept the sword. You know what I mean?
Kept the sword.
Oh my god.
Tyler, what about you? What do you think they're going to do with this mixed bag focus set? What?
Honestly, kind of. I'll piggyback off of what Ant said. I think it will be a little bit. I know that we kind of talked briefly before we started the podcast before we started this podcast today, that there's just a lot that they need to get out. There's a lot of mechanics that still need to be released. There's a lot of things that still need to be fleshed out as far as like everything about this game. There's still a lot that we don't know. And, obviously, and we talked a little bit with, we talked with Shane. We talked a little bit with Shane about
creative designer, director,
about the Illuminarium, and about like it's a lot of different worlds that are built around the totality.
Inklands. The Inklands is what we've dealt with so far. Yeah. Nothing else.
And so I think there's so much that we don't know about those and the story behind Lorcana. I think they still need to finish fleshing out all of that and what the story holds before they start like, okay, let's go through an entire Inkland. Like, let's find the other characters that have been affected by the Dreamborn or the rush of ink. And obviously, it wouldn't be an episode without me saying that we need a special edition version of just an entire set for Kingdom Hearts.
All right,
entire set.
Hot take. We're getting an entire set of Kingdom Hearts. It's going to happen.
I'm glad I can answer a question after that. So I think you're right. I think that the baseline.
You heard it here, folks.
Kingdom Hearts coming to a theater near you.
Cut. Uncut. Okay. So I think that. Oh my god. I think that they're going to come out with sets to flesh out. I think that they are not going to go into strict theming until every Disney property has had at least a dip into the ink pool of Lorcana.
No, I agree.
That leaves a lot of time. However, the theming of this set, I know he's calling it a mixed bag. I agree, it is a mixed bag of movies. But the theming of the set is Rise of the Floodborn, so it's like shifting, and Floodborn is more of a focus as far as, if it's titular, then it's got to be focused, right? I think that we're going to see more theming that's loose like that first, but I do think the wide lens of possibilities of all Disney movies as a whole, all the different avenues and genres and themes that those movies themselves dip into, lends itself to, like, if you go just on a space theme, you actually can incorporate a decent number of Disney characters just on a space theme. Yeah. Treasure Planet can get kind of spacey, sci-fi.
The whole thing is spacey.
Lilo and Stitch literally involve space.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the rest, but I'm sure even if you did not have another strictly space-themed thing, heck, WALL-E. There you go.
Wall-E.
That's a Pixar.
That's Pixar.
Pixar. But even though you
Buzz
got
Lightyear.
space, Buzz Lightyear.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's also Pixar. So even
was
if
was the Lightyear movie a
that's
Pixar
Disney,
movie?
you're right.
Boom.
So-
Roasted. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys.
Find the camera.
Get in the comments.
Anyways, I think even if you had a space theme, you still have room to incorporate Dreamborn versions of characters in spacey settings.
Yeah.
So one in particular I love is the jungle idea, not just because I'm an avid Pokemon fan and I've enjoyed the jungle set nostalgia of early Pokemon days. It's the literal idea of like Tarzan. Jungle theme, Jungle Book, jungle theme.
Yeah.
There's so much character, like Lion King even has like jungle-esque theme, right? So, I mean, you have no worries. Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata.
There you go.
Let's get some grub.
Yeah.
So there's jungle theming in a lot of sets, and I think it would lend itself where even if you weren't like lost in the jungle, even if that was your set name, you don't even have to like Dreamborn out some characters there.
Right.
You literally have multiple Disney properties that exist within that genre. So I think that is something that, you know, down the line, it's not like they're going to make purely storyborn sets, but
Right.
I think that is like a narratively, it's probably really easy work to do.
Sure.
They probably want to push themselves a little harder than let's just do jungle, guys. Let's try underwater. You know, like that.
Yeah.
You want to push yourself creatively, and I would honestly be more impressed if they built out their own story and then pushed their own theming within their own story.
That would be dope.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you have
Like
to just
finding
go
out
like,
what the
what if
names
we
of
made a
each
set
Inkland
all
is?
red? You know, it's kind of lazy. You know what I mean? So
It is lazy.
But
I like
either
it.
way,
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, Ruby. If it's all Ruby cards, I'm down. Anyways, thank you,
Special
John C,
set.
for your question. That was a wonderful question. I enjoyed answering it. We are going to go to the YouTube question, and I've purposefully withheld this question from Tyler and Anthony because I wanted to get their takes on this question without really much warning, because you kind of brought it up a little teaser earlier, which I couldn't avoid discussing this. But yeah, the question on
at me getting ahead of
YouTube is
things.
from Nick Gagalis.
Gagalis.
He asks, which alternate play format is your favorite and why? There are some he mentions. Porcana, which is only commons and uncommons. Team play, meaning multiple people against multiple people. 6-color team play. Multiplayer, or something else.
Are we talking about just for the game of Lorcana?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes. I knew y'all probably had never heard the term Porcana before, but it's something that is becoming a little bit more accepted because it's like the prices of uncommons and uncommons are very cheap. So they're accessible and you can kind of build decks with that limitation. So yeah, what alternative methods have you tried in Lorcana besides 1v1?
I mean, we played that one game of
Draft?
Well, y'all played the draft, but we played the multiplayer that one time.
Yeah.
That was actually
And we
really
played
fun.
multiplayer at least twice.
Yeah. I would say I have not tried, besides limited, I have not tried any of these beyond multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I would say multiplayer to me is just as fun as 1v1. I think multiplayer is wonderful.
I think
in
it
this
would be
game.
a lot of fun to create, you know, obviously Magic did it already, but I think it would be a lot of fun to create a commander version of.
Yeah, you can't copyright like trying to play a game when like basing your deck building around one single character or theme and stuff. That's just deck building.
Yeah,
you know?
it literally is just deck building. But I think it would just be a lot of fun to like obviously to sit under the same constraints that Commander does, where it's one card of each thing. It doesn't have to be a 100-card deck, but it would be fun to like pick 2 of your favorite cards, your favorite like massive characters, put them in as like your commanders, and that's your 2 colors that you can use.
Yeah. Or you could, when the game has fleshed out even more down the line, there will be more opportunity for this with card selection. But eventually, when there's enough cards in each ink type,
color.
No, if there's enough cards in each ink type, you literally could just have a deck of like, I'm playing Ruby. I get to pick one color and build a deck around it. You get to pick one color.
Yeah.
Everybody gets monocolored decks, and you can pick your legendary card that you get to play that doesn't go to the discard pile. Instead, it goes to some, ink zone. I don't know.
I like that.
Something that you could like build your deck around. Every color is going to have its weakness, but inherently that should be a multiplayer format so that everybody can kind of cover each other's weaknesses. That being said, Nick asked, what's your favorite and why? I think all of us would agree multiplayer is our favorite.
Sure.
Yeah.
We haven't tried team play, but I'm very interested to see what team play can offer. A 2v2 of like, we both quest to 30 together instead of, individually questing to 20. Yeah. You would have to specify in the YouTube comments what team play you're referring to on your rule set. I haven't heard that before. That's interesting to me.
I haven't heard that. What do you say?
6-color team play. Maybe that's something we talked about just a second ago. Maybe we were talking about that and didn't know it. But maybe like you play Emerald, I play Amber, and we play an Emerald Amber team. Who knows?
Huh.
But multiplayer is my favorite of those,
cool.
just because we love the social aspect of the game. It lends itself well to that. You are always in the game, even if you don't win. It's not like you get knocked out before anybody else, unless you get milled.
Unless you get milled,
got to leave that caveat.
Yeah,
but everybody.
But if you play teams and your teammate gets milled, you lose too.
I don't know. Maybe.
Probably just knocked out.
That'd be rough.
Yeah. Probably just knocked out.
Probably just alone at that point. Either way, I'd say multiplayer. Definitely.
For sure.
Just for the social aspect of the game. I am down to try Porcana, but I will say my deck building mental capacity is so constrained just by trying to build plenty of decks for Constructed that it is very hard for me to like dive into multiple formats of a game. I'm guilty of like in multiplayer, just playing my single player decks and just making it work.
Yeah.
Because I can't build 2 different formats at the same time in my head. So I would need someone else to deck build, and I would just net deck the heck out of a Porcana deck because I could build it easily. I could just buy it for probably like $5. Either way,
pretty close.
It'd be really cheap. So yeah, thank you so much, Nick, for that question.
And continuing to be an awesome supporter of the channel. We really appreciate it.
Well, guys, that wraps up our show. I hope you've enjoyed this extra long, nearly 2-hour episode. Oh my goodness. The editing gods cry.
The only good news is that most likely by the end of editing, this will not be a near 2-hour episode.
No, I'm pretty close. Either way, go down to that comment section. Let us know what you think of these cards individually. Let us know if we missed any interactions between these cards. Please remember, if you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, click the subscribe, share this with your friends who play Lorcana so they can get some deep dive analysis, they can get some discussion and get introduced to some cool YouTube channels that we also mentioned mid-show. If you are listening on Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. It would really help our shows spread. It's not something we like to forget about, but I know we do forget about that we do have pure listeners on Spotify. So all of you who are listening on Spotify and not watching on YouTube, we appreciate you very much as well. So yes, share your thoughts. But most importantly, Tyler.
Digital Me, take us out.
Thanks again, guys, for listening to Ready Set Live. If you could, like and share the content and subscribe to the channel, as well as hitting that notification bell for updates on when we post new content. Don't forget to leave a comment as we check for any questions that you guys might have, as well as things to add to our mailbag portion of the podcast. And who knows, maybe your question will be answered in the next episode. And thanks again to Texarkana Podcast Studio for their contribution in making this episode possible. As always, this is the crew from Ready Set Draw, ending our turn.